I went to this guy who was a friend, and I told him what had happened. And he told me, Sophie, don't worry, I have something to make you feel better. And he gave me weed. And I got high. I started sleeping around. I was okay with it because now I didn't care. So when I left high school, I had survived the groomer. I, looked up to a new, bright life that was ahead of me. I was accepted into college, one of the best colleges in Uganda. But, my father had rubbed it in my face that, I'll not make it there. And even when I made it there and I was accepted, he made a comment and said, right, girls your age, people pay for them tuition to be in college. But, by the grace of God, he continued and paid it. And I do the first year. And in the middle of the first year, I think by then I was like 19 years. I was working with my sister. She had a boutique and I was working there. And, guys came in here and there trying to talk to me until this one guy came. Because remember, I told you in the previous episodes that I had said I will protect my body. It's the only thing that that is left that I can give out willingly or that I controlled in my life. There are a lot of things that I hadn't controlled around me, but this particular one, I had it. And so there was this guy. He was a business guy he seemed like he has his life together, and he was good. He was younger than the groomer. So I was like, oh, this is acceptable. I saw him a couple of times and, we left the talking stage and we're good. I visited him here and there. And then I think my sister kind of like had a clue what was going on, but, she did not go into it because there's some things in our family that always went unsaid. You see it, but you don't say anything about it. And we never really had a conversation about that, but I get into a relationship with this guy and he actually promises to marry me because I told myself I'll not lose my virginity to anybody who I'm not going to be with for the rest of my life. So he had my plans. The devil had my plans, the whole, but I did not pray over them because at the same time, I did not know how to pray. I did not know how to be that intentional. I did not have the spirit of discernment because from the time I gave my life Christ, when I was probably like 8 or 7, I did not go back to church. So from that time I went into the choir. I never really went back to church because from school, from where I was, primary school, I went to high school, and then now I'm at college. So I didn't really have that discipleship to learn how to discern, to learn how to ask God who I should get married to or whatever. So this guy came with the talk because the enemy had my plans as a child, and he came with the talk and he was like, "I'm gonna marry you. I'm gonna do this for you. I'm gonna do that for you," and so he drove me home a couple of times, dropped me home. And then, one day I was like, he's going to marry me. Maybe this is my husband. So one day we go home to his house. It was a Sunday evening. The sun was still out. And this man put me in a position whereby if I wanted to pull out of this whole situation, I would not. I left his house. I stood on the road and I asked myself, where am I going to go? Who do I tell about what has happened to me? Who do I ask if this was right or if that's not the way it was done? And I got angry. I got so angry that I just got into a taxi to my brother's house. He was renting, and I went to him And I told him I just wanted to see you because in my head, I told myself that I'll never get it right. I'll never get it right. I sat in that moment and I knew that I was never going to see this man ever again because of the way I felt in that moment. And at the moment, I was like, this is it. I am defeated. Even the thing I held so precious in my life had been taken away. Cannot tell my mom about it. I feel so embarrassed to even talk to my sister or anybody. So I looked at my brother and I told him I just wanted to be here with you. I just wanted to see you. He had no clue what was going on with me. I blocked the guy, moved on. And that's where I planned. I was like, you know what? My life is so messed up. I need to leave this country. I had to get out of the environment that reminds me of all my failures. Around people that don't like me, I had to get away from the environment. And I went back and I worked on the same building where that guy worked, but I never crossed that floor ever again. I went back to college because I used to still go to school. And I remember I went to this hostel where my very close friend of mine lived. There was a guy that we used to hang out with. That one day I was in his room and I told him what had happened to me because I was too embarrassed to tell my best friend by then because she had a very good relationship and everything seemed like it was going well with her. And I'd lost my virginity to a guy that's not gonna marry me. My best friend did a very good choice because the guy who broke my virginity, it's like we had this spark whereby things were supposed to go the way they went. She had the guy she slept with is the guy she's married to right now. They have a very beautiful family. But I told myself, I was too embarrassed to tell her. So I went to this guy who was a friend and I told him what had happened. And he told me, Sophie, don't worry, I have something to make you feel better. And he gave me weed. And I got high. I started sleeping around. And I didn't care. Now this guy who was giving me the comfort of the weed, I kept going to him and I kept sleeping with him. Because when he gave me weed, I forgot the trauma I went through with this guy who broke my virginity so I could sleep with him. Not that he was doing it to take advantage of me. I gave him consent. I was okay with it because now I didn't care. So I started sleeping around and I would just wake up, go to work, go to school. In the middle of the day, I feel like getting high. I would leave work, go to the hostel, smoke weed. I came from eating the edibles. I started now smoking it. I started getting to late night parties. I started drinking hard liquor. I started going down this drain whereby I remember I got to a point and I started not going back home. For an African child and how my parents were tough on me, I stopped going back home. I slept out. And the first day I slept out, I remember my mom called me at midnight. And because I was high, because that day I left like I was going to work. And I got my phone. I saw that my mom was calling and I hang up. And Ugandan phones, or when you call your parent calls you and you press busy, it tells them the way it used to it would tell them that they have pressed that number, that they have sent you to voicemail. And oh my goodness, I had this courage and this boldness because now I was so angry at the world. In the morning, went back to my mommy And I remember she made a statement and told my sister, I am not going to beat your sister because if I beat her, I will kill her. And she just walked away from me. She gave me the silent treatment for like a very long time. And then, my sister, my brothers were all wondering. My brother was wondering. My sisters were wondering what's happening with this girl. And I remember my mom made a statement like recently. She reminded me, she was like, Sophie, I did not know how you were going to turn out because that time I was worried that you were at a point of even selling yourself. That is how bad it was. That is how low I went. That is how deep I went. But I was very impulsive. I did not care about who saw me how. I remember there are times that I would hold on to the next thing that would make me feel good. I was staying out in cafes till 3 a.m. in the morning. I was clubbing from Monday to Sunday. I started even like at some point my sister told my mom that she's staying with me. I shifted from home to my sister's house. And I remember I wasn't staying at my sister's house. I also left my sister's house to go sleep with a couple of friends. We would go in a house and just be there because there's this friend of ours who had a house, and we just go stay there. And how God's hand was on me. We clubbed every single day. Because a club in Uganda somewhere it was, or some day somewhere, some place was open, and we were out every day. But we always had a car like to go back home. And I remember one day we were supposed to go out. And that day I told people, you know what? I got this conviction. By then I didn't know it was a conviction. I got this conviction to not go. And I felt something like I need to go see my mom. And I told guys, guess what? Today I'm not going to come with you, but I'm going to go see my mom. I walked and I went to my mom's house. It was very close. It's almost the same city. And that night, after I went to see my mom, I went back home. That night, every person that went out came back with wounds. They were beat up. They had lost everything because they drove into a gang because now they did not have a car. So they got these border guys motorcycle riders who are giving them like rides home, and they were thieves. They beat them up to a point that one of the girls came back home she had lost her mind. And I had to wake up the next day and take them to the emergency room because they had beat life out of them. But I did not go. Later, that's when I realized I was like, that was God looking out for me. And I'm not saying that God loved me more than he loved them. But all I know is that I had a very strong conviction to not go out this night, and I did not. I went back home. Another night, one of the nights we still had to like go party and everything, I used to walk this distance from the main road to where the house was, and I walked into a gang of boys. And I remember by then we were using earphones. I had these earphones wrapped around my head and then put them in here and into my phone, and I was listening to music, and this guy followed me from behind and he started pulling the cable when it's around my neck, and the guy was strangling me until I let go of the phone, and he picked up the phone and ran. I went home that day and I told myself, this has to stop. I'm going to die. Because now this is 2 times I had survived an attack. And I started working on my papers to leave the country. Like I've been sharing in the previous episodes, there are ways the enemy has been planning for my life from the time I was 7 years. Letting me hear things that he knows I'm going to feel bad about. He planned from the time I had my mother innocently tell me that she tried to abort me. The enemy knew what that would do to me as a young girl. who had not found herself, who did not know who she was. The insecurity started from one door to another. He came from that. I developed insecurities. I ended up in relationships with people I had no business being in relationships with. Because of the lack, the insecurities, I ended up associating myself with people I was not supposed to associate with. Because he knew if he takes off one brick after another, I would end up in his arms. But the God, the one who knew me from my mother's womb, always found a way of protecting me. From the teachers that tried to take advantage of me. From the groomers that wanted me at a very young age. And he protected me despite of the fact that other people were already going through it. That is the God who knew me. The one who protected me to the end, the one who was walking with me. He is the same God that knows you and has been protecting you from the things you do not understand. I want you to take some time as you listen to this episode and look into your life, and instead of seeing the fact that your mother tried to abort you, see that you were preserved and you survived. Ask yourself, why did I stay? When others were losing their lives, when the others were losing themselves to alcohol, to pornography, to HIV, to whatever happens to young girls, to young boys, how come you were preserved? That was God knowing you. That was God understanding you. And as you listen, I want you to go in yourself and forgive yourself for what happened to you. It was not your fault. Like it wasn't my fault that I had the things I had. Some of you have ended up in a situation that you had no hand in. You did not take yourself there. But somehow, the enemy schemed and you ended up there. I want you to forgive yourself. It is not your fault. The God that knew you from the time you were in your mother's womb still knows you and knew you then and still knows you even right now as you're battling with whatever you are battling with. I want you to forgive yourself. I want you to stand and say, it was not my fault. There is nothing you could have done better. Because the word that he put on your life can still come to manifestation. Because he's a faithful God. It does not stop from you messing up, sleeping around, taking the drugs and all sorts of things you've done like I did. It did not stop there. It did not stop the word of God from coming true in my life. Right now I stand here serving, ministering, doing whatever God wants me to do, restoring me. He's restoring me. He's doing what he's doing because I woke up one day and forgave myself. There is nothing I could have done better. There's nothing I could have done for people to see me the right way, for people to accept me, to take away the insecurities that came in my life. There is nothing you could do better. But right now you can do it for yourself. Stand up, seek God, understand that God is still the same. Understand that the word is still alive upon your life. God gave me a word when I was starting up. When I was a young girl, starting in salvation, he told me, I have opened up a door in your life and no man can close it. When God opened up a door for you to go into your mother's womb, nothing the enemy can do to you that can take you away from his arms. So I want you to think about yourself more beyond the circumstances of your past. Think about yourself beyond the circumstances of the things people did to you. Yes, for some, maybe I survived most of them. They could even have happened to you. They could have raped you. They could have molested you. You could have gotten HIV. You could have gotten, things from this way, but there is a reason you're still alive and listening to me today. He wants to do something with your life. He wants to use your testimony and turn it into purpose. He wants to use what you have conquered, what you have survived, to help others survive. If you could only look beyond what happened to you. You are not what happened to you. You are who God says you are. Thank you so much for watching. This was a tough journey. Me sharing all that was a lot for me, but it blesses me to know that it's all for a purpose. Thank you so much for watching. Please, 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 please tell me what you think in the comment section. DM me. Reach out, comment, encourage me. Let me know that what I'm doing is blessing you. Please subscribe, like, and share. There could be somebody that I'm unable to reach, but you will be able to reach. So please share this story. Let somebody be helped. Let somebody's pain turn into purpose. Tune in next week. You don't want to miss it. You do not want to miss the next episode because I'm going to talk about the soul tie that almost ruined my life. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see you. God bless you.